Whatever, that's fine. Why no one wants to buy a cheap used Mac right now? What do you mean? I do want to buy a cheap used Mac so I can turn it into a headless Mac. Whatever do you mean? Um, was I gonna look up Avengers game? Avengers is dead.
Let's try something for a moment. Close your eye.
The death of Marvel Avengers.
Imagine a world where Marvel's Avengers was a single-player action-adventure title. In this imaginary world, a solo Avengers game tells a memorable story with well-written characters, expertly crafted set pieces, and well-thought-out combat mechanics that properly utilize each player's hero's unique powers and abilities. That sounds excellent, right? Now, open your eyes and come back to reality, because that world is very much not the one that we live in. It's been over.
But what about a version of the game that was maybe not single player, was still multiplayer, but had better animations and it had better mechanics, and the game was fun from the beginning, and instead of having to wait until the end of the game or wait until you level the character all the way up for the character to be actually fun? What if we had that game? You know? What if we had things where by the animations, like Spider-Man was a Spider-Man, everybody moves like Iron Man. Like everybody moves like a tank in that game.
3 years since the launch of Marvel's Avengers, and the game has now officially come to an end of the line.
Where it wasn't super repetitive and bad.
Ended all support for it, it can also no longer be purchased anywhere, unless you're looking to buy a used physical copy, maybe.
Why would you even want to buy this game? I don't even understand why. Like, it's not a problem that you can't get it anywhere. It's not a problem. Maybe buy a used physical copy or buy a physical copy of the game so that later, like in the future, you can have a copy of the worst game to ever exist and somebody might pay you some money for it.
And even though all of that has happened, even now, it's hard not to feel a sharp pang of disappointment whenever you think about Marvel's Avengers.
Yes.
And more specifically, about what it could and should have been.
Yep.
Let's make this quick.
I already knew this game was going to be bad when I first saw it. When I first saw it at E3 or wherever they showed it at, I knew it was going to be bad. Like, the character faces looked meh. Like, after coming off of Avengers Endgame and coming off of Avengers, 10 years of Avengers, faces didn't even look good. So it's like, all right, you couldn't get their likenesses for the game. So, all right, I guess. And then it was like, all right, well, they're going to be good. You couldn't even get the same costumes from like Endgame instead of not being able to have their likenesses, but at least having the same costume. Like, I feel like that would have been much better, a much better sell, because like, all right, cool, I get to have these costumes. And also not trying to nickel and dime people out of their money with this game, with the costumes and all that kind of stuff. It's stupid.
Secure the bridge.
Coming not long after Insomniac took the industry by storm with Marvel's Spider-Man, Marvel's Avengers should have been a single-player game focused on narrative and handcrafted.
I don't really feel like that's fair. Like, it could have been a multiplayer game. That's fine, but it could have been a better game. It didn't have to be a single-player game. It's the fact that they just didn't do the game justice that they made. Even if they, I think Chris said that they stopped in the middle of development and decided to make it multiplayer. It's like, all right, even if you did that, or if you didn't do that, I think the game would still suck because of the way the core of the game is. Like, the way the characters feel moving around, it doesn't feel fun to play the characters. Like, it felt like I didn't even get to finish the whole game. I played the game on Stadia. I didn't even get to finish the whole game. I wanted to play through the whole game, but the characters are just not fun to play early on in the game. And I keep hearing people tell me, "Oh, well, when you get to the end, or when you level your character all the way up and you have access to everything that they have to offer, then the character starts getting to be fun." That's not, no. In Spider-Man, right? In Spider-Man, all the Spider-Man games, I barely used any of the gadgets because it was so fun to play as Spider-Man. I didn't care about gadgets. I wasn't playing Batman, right? So I didn't care about any of the gadgets. The first Spider-Man game, Spider-Man PS4, that I used no gadgets the whole game. Like the whole game. I think in this what was it? No, in when did I what did I maybe it was the second half of the game, because this Spider-Man 2 that's about to come out. So it definitely wasn't Spider-Man 2. But like Miles Morales, that's the game, was the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. I was about to be like, I know there's another Spider-Man game. So in Miles Morales, I use more of the gadgets, I use more of the abilities and stuff. But in the first game, I really didn't use anything except for like web bomb or whatever the fuck it was, where it you threw it down and it just webbed everything up. It was like a giant like web ball thing. Like that was the only thing that I ever used in the whole playthrough of the game. I just fought like classic Spider-Man through that game, and which is fun because playing as Spider-Man was fun. In this game, I don't know if playing as Spider-Man would be fun. Not the way he looked like when he'd be moving around, and not the way the other characters in this game move around. And I would have wanted to play Iron Man in this game, which I did, but it was just like it ain't feel good in the beginning. It just you gotta earn the game being fun in Avengers. That's part of the like, if the game was bad but the characters were really fun to play, I would have hopped on it. Avengers. I'm talking about Avengers. This is because Chris brought it up to me in a message, and I was like, let me watch a video about Avengers and see what other people are talking about it, because it's about to die. I think it's about to get shut down completely. This is 7 days ago. This video was from a week ago. I don't know when it's getting shut down, but I heard that it's getting shut. This bum ass failure, exactly.
Only did it fail to deliver a standout single player experience. It was also
one of the greatest missed opportunities ever.
Game. Yes, the campaign was a fairly solid one for the most part.
I'll give it that. I told him that. I was like, the campaign I was fine with. I didn't even get to finish the whole campaign. But like I didn't get to finish the whole thing. But the part that I did play and the stuff that I was playing, I will always like to get to the cutscenes because I enjoyed watching the cutscenes and the story in the game. The game itself was just garbage. Square Enix, they were just like, man, we got Final Fantasy, we got all these other games that are popping or whatever. So it's Avengers. We'll get money out of it. Who cares? Just get it done real quick. Get it out the door, and people will buy it. Avengers Endgame, is just going to be like tying up, and everybody's going to be missing Avengers. Everybody will just buy the game. It'll be great. We'll just be rolling in dough for nothing. Like that's how I feel like they treated this game.
But it was significantly hampered by the fact that it was in a game that clearly wasn't designed to deliver a memorable story. Not only did Marvel's Avengers waste an incredibly popular IP,
everybody looked like they're old. Everybody looked like they old and can't move. It looked like it's me in the suit, and I'm trying to do backflips, and it's hard because like I've been doing it too long. I'm too old. I can't be doing backflips no more. Black Panther's back hurt, and he just like, I'm chilling, man. I can't move like I used to move.
Was designed as an infinitely repeatable
it looked like all the characters look like they grunt when they move.
Remained intact. It couldn't even do everything it could have with its characters from a gameplay perspective.
Freaking ridiculous.
For instance, does it take so many hits for someone like the Hulk to take down an enemy?
Exactly. Why is the Hulk? Why is the one of my things was, why is it that the Hulk, right, can get hit and knocked out of his heavy attacks by like little puny puny enemies. Like they hit him with a little bit of something, and he's like, oh, it's like, dog, he's the Hulk. Like he should just have armor by default against like all small attacks and small arms, like period. Like so what if he's super OD? Like y'all got to figure out how to make the Hulk somebody you could play in the game, feel like the Hulk, and be able to like have something that specifically stops him in like in game. Like he's a tank.
Why does swinging around like Spider-Man feel hardly any different from using Black Widow's traversal mechanics?
Oh my
Why doesn't the
god.
game take full advantage of its roster?
Look out. He's like, ugh.
Where it doesn't feel like you're going through underwhelming emotions, regardless of which superhero you're playing as.
Why is he okay?
As soon as Marvel's Avengers was out, it was clear
This
for
game,
everyone
dog.
to see that the game was deeply flawed. A lot of those issues came from the game's technical deficiencies, many of which were addressed by post-launch updates, but even on a core design level, there was...
Yo, so the way their armor and stuff worked in this game pissed me off too, because like you can see that they have armor and like they have like these gear, ranged gear. It's gear. All the gear is colored cards with a number on it. That's what it is. Just colored cards with a number and some details on it. That's all gear is. Gear doesn't make the character look any different or anything like that. It doesn't show up on your character or anything, which I think is super lazy. If they were going to do that, they should have had gear for your character. So when you put on a different cuff or a different like armband or something like that, you can see it on your character. You put on a different lightning bolt on her shirt. It maybe not the default lightning bolt, but it's a lightning bolt that will show up on her shirt, right? Or whatever the gear is, it should change what the character looks like, no matter what suit it's on. Maybe if they stopped trying to like nickel and dime people out for all of the suits that are in the game, because they weren't really earnable, I don't think. Not all of them. But there was a lot of ones that you could just buy. And I'm like, if they would have not worked on all of that and just worked on like making the suits customizable based on what gear you picked up and used, then that would have been cool. Like, that would have been cool.
There's plenty that needed significant reworking, short of a major overhaul similar to what we've seen so far for, say, Cyberpunk 2077. To name a recent example, Marvel's Avengers was never going to come even close to fulfilling its potential.
Nope, it wouldn't.
To its credit, Crystal Dynamics didn't instantly drop the game and move on from it after its unsatisfactory launch. Following its release,
that's probably because they had a contract. That's not because they didn't. That's not because they wanted to. That's probably because they had a contract. They had a contract to work on the game for that long, and that's just what it was. Like they just had to work on the game for X amount of time until they're like, all right, well, I guess it's time to close it up. The contract's almost over. CD Projekt Red stuck with their game because that was their game that they worked on. Square Enix don't care nothing about this game. They got their own games. They were just like, oh, Square Enix, and it was like some other studios got together and they thought that, well, yeah, we'll just make this game, and because our name is on it, people will be like, yeah, it's going to be good. And then they just made this flop of a game, and now it's dying.
The developer released a number of new expansions and updates for the game, adding new story content, new playable characters, new side activities, and more. But though it wouldn't be fair to say that Marvel's Avengers wasn't supported after its release, it would be fair to say that it probably wasn't supported the way it could.
Like, who cares about the side content if the characters are not fun to play? Like, if it's not fun for me to grind through the game to level up all the characters and to play all the different types of characters that are in the game and do all that stuff, like, what does the content matter? It's already dead. They're delisting it soon.
Could have been.
So you can't play the game at all right now, or is it getting ready to die?
The game
this video is 7 days old.
Ripping narrative content and significant gameplay reworks. But what it got instead was new content that was, by and large, mostly cut from the same cloth as the base experience. Obviously, that's what you usually expect to see in most post-launch updates and content additions. But for a game that launched with as many issues as Marvel's Avengers
Look
did,
at him. Look at him
more
running
of
with
the same isn't
his
exactly
old
a
ass, his
marketing
old
pitch that's going to
knees.
get a lot of people excited for new post-launch
Black
content.
Panther and his old
When the game
knees.
came out, it drew criticism for a number of issues. Its open maps were criticized for being bland and empty.
This is what 70-year-old Black Panther looked like.
Its loot mechanics were criticized for being plain and all too granular. Its side content was criticized for being so uninteresting and generic, it almost felt procedurally generated. And
It's
yet,
still allowed to be played, and if you own it, you can download or re-download it. The servers will be up, but after like 26, you can't buy it online. Oh yeah.
none of these issues were
I don't
addressed
think
in
it's a
any of the
problem
game's
if you can't buy
post-launch
this game
updates in
online.
any
No one
meaningful
should.
way.
No one should.
Yeah,
No one
we
should be
got
buying
more
this game at
content
this
for a
point.
couple of years after the game's launch, but more often than not, that new content had so many of the same issues the game had always been riddled with.
But that's the thing. I don't care to have it. Like I don't care to have it. I don't think anybody cares to have it. In Steam and on stores, it's like $3 to $5. If it's $3 on Steam, I might get it and mess with it on Steam Deck and see. I'll be wasting $3 to $5. We'll be wasting $3 to $5. I'll be wasting $3 to $5. Maybe I'll do it for content, because that's the only way I can justify buying this game, no matter how much it costs.
For its release, not many would have guessed that a big-budget AAA experience based on Avengers would go on to be mentioned alongside some of the biggest and most high-profile gaming disappointments in recent memory. But sadly, that's what the game ended up being.
Yep.
Not only was Marvel's Avengers widely criticized by critics and audiences, it couldn't even rely on its big license to rake in the sales.
It couldn't rely on its big license to rake in the sales because the game was so unbelievably bad. Like that's crazy. Because it came out after a time where all these other games came out and they were really bad, and people were just like, you know what, I'm not having this no more. No, not at all. And then everybody started spreading it around, and I don't know why you thought you should even come out with a game in this state, especially with a license that big and people that love the Avengers and people that have watched the Avengers for 10 years. Like the Avengers MCU or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. People have watched the Marvel Cinematic Universe for 10 years, and I'm one of them. Every single movie I've seen, every single one. And then like I would have like if this game was good, I would have scooped this game up so fast. Like I would like do you understand? Like if this game was good, I would be buying it for people. I wish it had the same effect on me that Monster Hunter had on me, because I like Monster Hunter. I don't think I will ever not like Monster Hunter, even if like they make the game easier or they do some stuff. As long as the game is still fun to play and it still has all of the things in it that make Monster Hunter, then I don't think I will ever dislike a Monster Hunter game. They would have to come out with some really bad version of a game. So that means like a new studio would have to pick it up, and like a new studio would have to pick it up, and they would have to do horribly on the game, and it would have to do terrible. And then like I think I would just be at a loss for words that they would screw up that bad. But like I don't think Monster Hunter would screw up that bad. Knock on wood. It's too late. It's been delisted already. Oh well.
That Square Enix was
Oh well.
It would. Back when Crystal Dynamics was still owned by the Japanese
that is not a bad thing.
Acquired by Embracer Group, it was reported multiple times that its commercial performances had fallen way below expectations and driven significant losses for Square Enix as a result. Now, 3 years on from its launch, Marvel's Avengers has failed to turn the ship around, to the point where it's officially been laid to rest. Its player base never really saw anything close to a resurgence.
Like, you see how
Its
Cyberpunk turned it around,
content
right?
didn't do much to address the
Cyberpunk
experience's
turned it
biggest
around.
issues.
Avengers, they
It's
didn't.
sadly forever
Square
going to
Enix
be
didn't
remembered
care enough
as
about
the
this game
that
to
completely
actually
squandered the potential of a
turn
AAA
this game
Avengers
around.
game.
I think they couldn't turn it around even if they
Crystal
tried, because
Dynamics
the
has
core of the
clearly
game
learned
was
some
just too
lessons
bad.
from the Avengers
Cyberpunk
fiasco,
had a good core.
though with its crack at live
It
service
just was buggy,
multiplayer
and
clearly
like,
not having worked out
and
the
a
way
lot
they
of stuff
would
was
hope,
just
and
bad
under
in the
the
game.
ownership
But the
of
core of the
Embracer
game
Group,
was
the
fine.
studio has been hit with fresh troubles in the form of recent layoffs.
It had a chance to be good if they would have fixed the fuckery. I still can't play Hulk without him glitching. That's just one of the small issues in the game. The core of the game is just bad. The animations of the characters are bad. The like hit like collisions, like hit boxes and all that kind of stuff feel bad. Like, it doesn't feel good to hit things. Like, it does not feel good to hit things. Like, and that's what you're doing the whole time. You're hitting things. It doesn't feel good. Combat has to feel good in these games because you're doing it all the time. Like, it has to feel good. If it doesn't feel good, then the game's not going to do well. Like, if the game was bad and the combat felt great and fun, it would have had a I mean, I guess it has a cult following of people because you're one of the people who is a cult follower of this game. I think it would have had a larger cult following of people if the combat system and the progression system in the game was better, and the animations and the feel of the game was just better. But it's just not. It's just not good. The core wasn't bad. It was. The bugs literally destroyed the game. No. The bugs had nothing to do with